All right, here in Loomy Island, on Loomy Island, we're here with Chef Blaine.
Hello, hello.
Freaking amazing restaurant. We're here with Handsome Jack. We are going to go over the basics of trading right now, and you are going to learn from the very beginning. Where are you in your trading education right now?
Just starting out.
Yeah.
Just trying to get, understand a little bit about it. Just starting and trying to learn from the best.
What do you know so far? What's your number one rule?
Cut losers early.
Yes! I showed him the video. That's literally 90% of the battle. Cut losses quickly. This is rule number one.
Yeah.
All right, let's post this right here. This is going to work.
That's a nice view.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Hold up. Let's go over here. Let's see this. Let's do this. The most important thing is get over here. You got to sit here. We're going to make this cinematic. This is like the last summer stage. Right?
Look at this. I love it.
Dude, this is all you need. As long as they can hear us, that's the key, right? So I was telling you about Jack, year one, year two. Was it year three you had the $80,000 year, or was it year four?
I think year 3, 2019.
But year one, year two, you made nothing.
Yeah, I lost money. All the time, and the only reason I was able to trade for as long as I did is because I just cut every loss insanely quickly.
So how much did you lose in year one?
I probably lost at a $2,000 account. I think I maybe lost $1,000 or $1,500.
Yeah. What did your friends and family say when you're studying and you're trading every day?
Oh, I just figured they would grief me, so I didn't say anything. I just kept my head down and kept working.
What did you learn from losing that $1,000 in year one?
I learned that it's not fun. I want to try to avoid losing. And then eventually I had just a big win that opened my eyes to everything. I think I had $400 left in my account in 2017. I bought DFFN at the close at 4. Next day it gapped up and just spiked all the way to 14. I made $700.
Nice.
All in 10 minutes of the market open. I was fist pumping in the basement. I was excited. And that's when I realized, okay, there's a lot of potential here.
So you're trading random setups, losing small. You're winning sometimes, but overall you're losing. Mm-hmm. And then it clicks because you're did you ride it from 4 to 14?
Oh yeah, the whole thing. I sold at the top.
Woo!
It was just halting up, and I was oh my gosh, let's go.
But that's the key, right? So you're learning what patterns are good and bad, and 2017 was a slow year, 2018 was a slow year. You're getting started relatively slow compared to 2020 or 2021, but still big in the grand scheme of things. What was it, SATX?
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest runners that we've seen in years, and that was you were just trading it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know how you deal with that.
Are you in it still?
Yeah, I'm still.
He's shorting it.
Short.
No, he's shorting it.
Okay, you never know.
But I was shorting it the previous day, and it wouldn't break down. I'm man, this thing, it has to blow out or something. It has to parabolic. It was my top watch, and even the day before that, I had a dream that it was going to the mid 60s.
He had a dream. He literally, he's you're not going to believe this, but I had a dream.
No way.
And then ever since then, I had just that gut feeling it was going to keep going. So when I was shorting it that day, I was very on edge. I'm I'm just going to play it safe and everything.
And what'd you buy in at?
Okay, the craziest thing. So first of all, on day one that I started to go at something 17 or something like this.
You bought it that
So
early.
it started to go in. It started to spike up. It kind of was acting just erratically. It wasn't that predictable. It didn't really take off yet, but it wasn't breaking down. Held above VWAP, but would just drop $1.
I didn't know the VWAP.
And then power goes out.
Oh my god!
So I'm panic, trying to get on my phone to do it. No signal. Running around trying this. So then the only one that would work on my phone, I have Thinkorswim, but I couldn't get it to connect. It takes too long. But TD Ameritrade did. Yeah. So I'm trying to sell on that, and I'm okay, I think it went through. Thank God, I don't know what happened with that, but just a market sale, just get out of this thing. Mm-hmm. So then later in the day, the power comes on, but it's after 5 o'clock something, and I see that I still have 30 shares. And so then I'm oh shit, what should I do? I look at it hey, this isn't that bad. This is kind of looking all right. Maybe I should just hang on to this. Yeah. So I hung on to it overnight. And then in the morning, it like didn't break right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like going, it was like 10 o'clock or something like that. And I'm like,
10
okay.
a.m. here, so 1 p.m.
No,
Eastern.
10 a.m.
Oh,
Eastern.
10 a.m. Eastern. Oh, so you're up early.
Up early. And I was like, this is going to go right at the open. It didn't. And then it was like an hour later, still just holding there. And it was like, okay, this isn't a good sign. Like, I should get rid of this. Like, minutes later, it takes off.
Oh, it happens.
Then I saw after I got in, because then it halted. If you guys remember, it halted. The second halt, it was just a flash. You couldn't even trade it.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like, oh, really easy, like really predictable or like slow kind of dip trade where it like dipped slow, it came right back up and like halted again.
So you're watching this.
No, I traded the dip, got in, got like $10 on that. Or like,
$10
or
a
like
share.
$6
Wow.
a share on
Yeah.
that.
Nice.
I'm trading super small,
Oh,
just
fine.
learning this stuff. So
That's
I think
fine.
I bought 10 shares.
Mm-hmm.
Then grind was going at the same time. Then
Yeah.
grind takes off.
This is his
oh,
level
shit.
play. You guys
Jump
are
on
trading the
that.
same
Jump on
ways.
that. Then I was just like, what's happening with this? And then bought 5 shares. Just learn how to trade. I was like, okay, it's cool to like learn the
Yeah.
halts and how to play the
Yeah.
halts a little bit. And grind was just like just curving up, nothing.
That's crazy.
It was just.
Are you
one after
working
the
while you're trading too? Are you like in the kitchen and you're like watching
Cooking
this?
a little bit? No. So I was maybe like thinking about food, telling him phone line to the kitchen just in case anything goes wrong. No, but then I look away for a second from grind to like go back to SATX. Look back, my 5 shares are down like $250. I'm like,
Oh.
what the fuck? How did this happen? Like, no. And so I ended up being able, because at one point I was down quite a bit, but then SATX like spiked again, and I was able to jump in on that and like be up a little bit on the day. But it just kind of like opens your eyes to like how drastic it can be, and also want to get good at trading those.
These
like,
are the
crazy
2 most
prices.
volatile stocks in the entire market. So that's amazing that you're focused on that already. Like this is
Yeah.
a very good lesson because now you're seeing how fast it moves, but like most stocks don't move like this. Like these are literally the 2 best stocks out of tens of thousands of stocks out there. But you do now see, like, this is why cutting losses quickly, like you can get very convinced that you think like a play is gonna do something and then you let it go and it just destroys your account.
Yeah,
And
with
then you're like,
5
maybe
shares.
it'll come back, and sometimes it does come back, and then you're like, I got bailed out. But if you keep playing with fire, one of the times, or 2 of the times, or most of the times, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you don't want to open yourself up to those devastating losses. So he's trading these. He's holding.
Well, there's
He's shorting them.
Yeah, I don't know. You have to explain to me a little bit about that because I couldn't locate any shares.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like zero shares to find to short it because everyone would want to short it. It's like just went crazy.
There's specialized brokers that have shares to short, but
Yeah.
you're also paying interest on them. There's locate fees.
Yeah, they'll charge you an
Stick with
arm.
going long in the beginning,
Yeah,
right?
I'm just trying to learn like the basics and just get started.
I mean, part of the reason why both of these plays spike so much is because they're short squeezes. There's too many shorts who bet against them too early and then they get squeezed.
Mm-hmm.
And this week actually is holiday week, so it's like, because we're filming this like for Thanksgiving, holiday trading gets even more insane.
Hell yeah.
Like, we're planning this week. We're like, yo, we got to be good. Like, we're both flying back tonight. Like, yo, we got to be up for the open tomorrow. This whole week, you'll see holiday runners.
Nice.
This week, Christmas week is like the market is closed on Thursday for Thanksgiving. Friday, it closes at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
A little early. So you'll see more like SATX and GRN. Do you have any position now or no?
No.
You got out.
Yeah.
Small
Nothing
win,
over
small
the
loss?
weekend. Friday, I ended up like $300.
It's good.
But it was like,
In a heart
and I
attack.
lost a few years of my life.
Yeah.
But that's a big thing, right? So it's not just about the money, it's also finding your comfort level. I can make a lot of money if I'm more aggressive, but I will be so scared. Like if I'm traveling or if I'm working, like I'm, focused on teaching, I don't want to trade big because then it's like, it's not worth it. Like there is a stress level. It's not just like profits and losses. You got to look at every trade. How did you do profit-wise? How did you do loss-wise? How did you do comfort-wise? That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're uncomfortable and you realize how dangerous it is, like that's
You're going to make like very emotional decisions like prematurely.
Yeah.
Then you'll just be kicking yourself if your idea was right.
Because-
That's like the situation.
because you got to focus on learning a process, right? Something that's repeatable over and over again. Like you're in the kitchen, you have your prep work, like you have the same routine all the time. Trading is no different. Find a routine where it's like every day, whether you make 300, good. Whether you lose 100 or 200, okay, it's not the end of the world. But you don't want to risk, like I see a lot of traders where they're plus or minus 5 or 10,000 and it's like an adrenaline rush for them. It's exciting. That's not sustainable because it's so slippery. Like trying to like stay safe without having small position sizes or without a plan is a recipe for disaster. Like it might be fun to have the adrenaline rush. It's like, yeah, I made $5,000 today. Next day, like lost $6,000. Give me a bottle of wine. So you need, especially in the beginning, we were talking about this. Jack is actually doing really well lately, the past few weeks, trading smaller but more consistently. And your win rate was what, 85%?
Yeah, like on the really good days, I'll actually have like some days where it's just all green trades.
Yeah.
And then on the worst days so far, it's been like about 50% win loss. So I mean, I've been very happy with that. And then in the middle, it's about like probably 75 to 80.
But overall dollar profits is much less than before when you were taking bigger size, but your win rate was lower.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the higher win rate because like you can still scale it. Like that's why trading's so cool because you can scale it. Whereas like
Over
other
time.
places, yeah, over time.
Just not right away.
No,
right?
never.
Like year one, you know, you lost a little. Year two, you lost a little. Year three, you made the $80,000
Yeah.
based on the lessons from year one and year two. But then you lost the $80,000 because you got too cocky.
Because I just wanted to keep scaling like aggressively. I mean, if I had more money, I could short more shares. I'm like, oh, then I'll make more money.
Yeah.
Be exponential, but then you don't realize how mentally damaged you can become by like even just a ticker. Because with me, it would become an ego battle where I was like, no, I want the crack, I want to short it and make the money, and then it just want to go down. And like if it's not going down, you're going to lose shorting.
Trading is tough because you want to prove to yourself, you want the money. So like you have to like kind of outthink your own emotions, right? Where it's like, you know, when he made the $80,000, he's like, okay, 2 years of losses, making the $80,000, year three, this is it, let's scale. Too soon, went back to zero, right? So like you gotta try to take it bit by bit. You can't cheat your way to success, right? You can't just say like, I'm tired of losing, I'm tired of trading small, let's go all in. You need the data to back you up. So if you can make 300, cutting losses quickly with a process, that's fantastic. Maybe year two, year three, you can go up to like $1,000, the same kind of trade with bigger position sizes. Maybe by year five, bigger positions. Then that same exact process that you learn with small size can pay you $10,000 in a day.
Yeah.
But only after you perfect the 300, 300, 300. I guess it would be like cooking where like you're doing all these elaborate sauces and everything is now very refined. How long have you been cooking now?
20 years.
Would you have been able to make these perfect sauces like the mole sauce in year one or year two?
No.
Because
but cooking's hard, man. Cooking takes forever to learn.
But that's trading. No, but it's trading isn't as hard, but it's the same mentality where to make your current sauces in year 20 of your cooking career, you're using lessons that you learned all the past 19 years.
Yeah, for sure.
In all of those lessons, little lessons that compound and add up to creating what you now have, which is, I mean, I'm thinking about the mole sauces I'm talking about. That was freaking money. I would drink that as a smoothie.
I know, that one's so good.
You should have the mole sauce smoothie the next morning. And today's smoothie was amazing. So like simple sauces and simple things, we don't see the 19 years that you put into this in the back.
Yeah.
Trading, maybe not 19 years, but maybe like 5 years or 3 years, then every single trade you do, you're learning from those lessons. Like, are you keeping track of every trade that you do?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where?
On Trader View.
Okay. But you're putting them,
Just
you're
import
listing.
all the trades, yeah.
Are you writing notes on them too?
Yeah, on the day. You know, like today this
No,
happened.
no.
And
You
like,
got to write notes on every trade.
on every trade? Okay.
It's a diary because
Yeah.
you got to hold yourself accountable. This is why I like sharing everything on Twitter. It holds me accountable because now my followers, like if I do something stupid, my followers are on me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do that again. This social accountability really helps,
Yeah.
right? And you share your gains, you share your losses like openly. That's huge. But document everything. Like, look at you with your notepad.
Every trade. Hell yeah. I'm
No,
ready to
you
go.
brought out
I'm
your
ready for the
note.
best.
You brought out your notepad because you were prepared to take notes. Because you're like, do you have a notepad when you cook?
Yeah, always.
Trading is the same.
Yeah.
Think about what you're doing with the sauce. If you take a diary of your cooking for the day, you don't just say like, okay, this is how the day went. You're saying, okay, this ingredient, these vegetables.
I use a recipe every time.
You use a recipe, but you're documenting
Yeah,
very
yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
You're not just saying at the end of the day, like, the meal was good.
Yeah, yeah, true.
The more precise you can be. Like, did you take a lot of notes in year one and year two?
Yeah, I just have like binders full of like loose leaf pages with all the notes.
While you were losing.
Yeah.
And so outsiders would look at this like, look at you working so hard, taking so many notes, and you're losing. This is a scam. The process of learning is not a scam. It's just more time consuming than you think.
Mm-hmm.
And then you losing the 80K, how did you feel after that?
Oh, terrible. I was like, what was the point of notes? But like the notes will only get you so far. If you're not actively practicing like what you're learning, then
Yeah.
you're not going to do
You
that.
got to take the notes, then you got to read them, then
Yeah.
you got to adapt, right? So like every single trade, how many trades have you done right now? Guess.
Probably 40.
Good. That's fantastic.
Or maybe I did the simulator for like 6 months.
Forget
And then-
simulators.
And then I
You don't learn
realized
much.
that I was like just winning like crazy. It was like, oh, 50,000 today. Like, how much do you want to win today? Just take your pick. And then, so I thought something has to be wrong, or else I'm gonna be so rich so fast. And then just started with like 1 or 5 shares or something. And on day 1, I was like, oh yeah,
It's different.
like this, that's not gonna work.
Simulators are good to like learn the basics, but it's not realistic.
Yeah.
So like you want to trade with small size at first. But like, what have you learned from your 40 trades? Are you plus or minus? At
I think like there's a good learning curve just to executions, just to getting filled like accurately,
Yeah.
following this and just like using the software well. I think that probably is the like first initial learning curve.
Yeah.
And then just seeing the market every day and seeing how like a theme might carry over from one day to the next, and seeing the connection between unrelated stocks or related stocks or something is really, I think.
You're ahead of the game so far. Like, can you imagine knowing this, like talking like this in year 1 of your stuff? Like,
Oh yeah.
You
Like,
know?
I just had to like watch and figure out like what was important and what could I like kind of forget about and just like keep rehearsing.
So how'd you come back from the 80K loss? Now you're in year 3, 2 heartbreaking years. You don't want to tell anybody. Year 3, you think you got it. You're wrong. What do you do?
I kept fighting. I mean, it really just took me so much time, like 6+ months, to like get over all that emotional trauma.
From the 80K loss.
Yeah.
So one loss takes 6 months to come
You
back.
lost 80K in one trade?
No, I lost about 30,000 on the $80,000 account, and then after that, I just went on tilt and like kept trying to fight and make it back, and like I just dug myself deeper and deeper, and it wasn't until I realized like 6 to 9 months later, I have to like be okay with that loss and accept it and like move on, just build from where I'm at, not try to build from where I was.
That's an amazing point. So when you lose big, you want, like, it's a lot of this is just mental challenges, right? So it's like when you lose big, you're like, I hate this, I want to get back to the highs.
Yeah.
So you're trying everything to get back to the highs just so that your mind is okay, but what you're trying to get back to the highs is not necessarily the right way. You don't even care about the right way. You're like, I'll do whatever I can to get back that feeling, right? You're like a junkie looking for drugs, and you're like, I don't care, I'll steal, I'll murder, I'll do whatever, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, kids. Tough analogy. But the point is, that won't get you back to the highs. Then it's a slippery slope because you're like, just give me one trade. Give me one good trade. Like that one where you wrote it from 4 to 14. You're like, I just need one of these with size and I'm back. But you can't cheat your way back to the highs.
Yeah.
You can never cheat your way even in the beginning. So you need to focus on the small incremental gains. So how'd you make back the 80K? How long did it take you?
Well, then the COVID market came, and
Right place, right
I
time.
hit some great first red days on like APT, AHPI, Codex, and I made like $2,000 in a day, and I'm like trading small, and I'm like, that felt good.
Yeah.
And then I just kept going after that because the market got so hot, and I saw like all my patterns again where I'm like, oh, that's a great short, that's a great one. And I just kept recycling it, and I was only making like, going for like $300, $500 a day.
Yeah.
And then it just slowly just really began scaling the way it should have been.
So he's in the right place at the right time. When COVID took over, like you could be the dumbest person alive, and like.
But your trading was the same.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
the
it
market
was
change.
more refined and more disciplined than ever.
Because
Like,
he got
how much I
back,
was risking.
right? So like the way that he's making the 300, 500 in a disciplined way, but then with a hot market, he can scale up. So the same process by which he's making 300, 500 a day, when the market was there, when there were more opportunities, you can start to make 3,000 or 5,000 a day. And then the market blew up and then your account blows up, then you can take bigger positions. So like that year that what year was this? This was 2020. So you had lost, you were basically back to break even the beginning of 2020. And then the market happened. And what did you finish 2020 at?
I think about quarter million?
Yeah.
Like 250,000?
Nice.
But lots of small wins added up based on his 2 previous years of nothing and the learning from the losses and trying to make back the losses.
Yeah.
So think about that, right? 250, and then 2021, how'd you do?
Man, I made almost $2 million.
Yeah.
A little over.
Well, you don't have to say it questioningly.
Hell yeah.
But it's the seeds were planted because he's learning to trade small, refining the process, then waiting for the market, waiting for the opportunities. If you don't trade small, if you don't refine your process, there could be opportunities you won't know what to do. You'll still be gambling. So during a slow market like now in 2022, much slower year. How are you green on the year?
I'm actually a little red now because I was going through like some trauma over the summer trading.
Yeah.
And that's why I just rebuilt everything again, like so disciplined once more. And
so you go back to whether you win big or lose small or win small, you go back to the process. You go back, how do I make a small amount? This is the beauty of trading, right? How do I make $50 on a trade? And it's like crazy. Like I post this stuff. I still do this. I trade with a small account. I post like my $100, $200 days. Yeah. And everyone's like, you're a multimillionaire. You're only making $100 or $200. A, I trade for charity, so it doesn't matter. B, I make more just from interest in my accounts because I do have millions in the accounts. But I want people to focus on that small little process. Because if you can refine your process, if you can make 100, 200, 300 a day with small size, finding what patterns you're good at, like he's shorting first red days, you like to buy these supernovas, as it sounds like. I call them supernovas when they go crazy.
We'll see. I'm just trying to learn.
Well, but that's your go-to pattern right now, right? As you take more time, you get more go-to patterns. No different than like with a chef. Like you have a go-to basis, right? Where you're like, okay, if I'm gonna make a new sauce, like here's the framework, and then I'm gonna build on that. Things that you've learned over 20 years. So you gotta build your foundation. Most traders don't have a foundation, and it's like, how do I build? And then they size up, and it's just sloppy. If you're sizing up on a trade like Grinder or SATX, you're dead. You are dead. Maybe not on the first trade, but the second trade or the third trade, because you don't have a foundation. Yeah. You're just gambling. Build your foundation year one. That's your sole job right now. Whether you spend 30 minutes a day, how many hours a day did you spend in year one? You're going to college too, right?
I was studying the whole time, like
every day.
Classes, like I would get to a class early and just like sit outside and like open up my laptop and just start working.
Yeah. How many hours would you guess? 4, 6, 8, 10?
In college?
Yeah, even if it's broken up, but
it's probably like 10 plus.
10 hours per day studying while losing.
Nice.
And being silent about it because you're embarrassed in your studying, right?
I was like, I'll figure it out.
Did your friends and family ask you how you were doing it all?
Oh yeah, and I would just brush off the question, give a little dodge. I was like, it's going fine.
But you're doing it silently and you're working on your foundation, and then year 3, year 4, year 5. Like that's the thing. You don't want, but you also don't want a bull market right now. Like I'm like, let's stay slow. I don't even think that we're going to. We can start to see more runners. We can start to see like the crypto people coming to the stock market. I don't think we're actually going to be that slow for the next few months. Like most of the top traders I know are canceling their travel plans for the next few months because they're like, we all see it like heating up. It's like a volcano where it's like there's some seismic readings going on. Like, wait a minute, this is about to. So you need to use every single day focusing on building your foundation so that when there are better plays, even though you are focused on like the best 2 plays right now, when that happens, you can go back and rely on your foundation. Like what's your average position size right now, dollar-wise?
I've been I'm about 5 shares, like max position. I'm just learning. So 5 shares, maybe if something's going crazy, I'll have 10 shares in most. And most of the stocks are like under $30.
Yeah. That's still money.
Yeah,
right.
It adds up. It's surprising that with 5 shares, if you're trading a lot, you can be like $1,000 down or up, in a day. And it's like, oh shit, okay.
But that's why you need to stay small. Like, don't feel bad. Like, if someone says, like, if you do talk to anybody and they're like, 5 shares, do 500, make it count. No. Yeah. Stay with 5 shares until you repeat over and over. Until you do, like, let's say you write out all your trades, maybe 30 good trades, and then you're like, okay, I get it. This is this beautiful pattern. I'm going to go from 5 shares to 10 shares now. Not 5 shares to 500. Not 5 shares to 5,000, but like incremental.
Just a little bit.
Once you know the pattern, but you don't know all your patterns right now. Like, how many patterns can you like think off the top of your head? You don't have to name them, but like if you saw like the market was open right now. This is the weekend, so the market's not open. If the market was open right now, and there were, let's say, we're watching 30 stocks. How many solid patterns would you know to look for that have worked for you over the past few years?
Right now, I'm only focused on, I think, 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I wanted to trade every single one, I could probably find like 10.
Yeah. I basically have a dozen patterns that are my go-to patterns, and they're not all working at the same time. Yeah. There's 2 or 3 patterns.
Okay.
That's it. It's like the sushi chefs where they're just spending so many years cutting the fish, and it's like the perfect cut, and the perfect amount of rice, the perfect temperature.
Yeah.
All these little things, and it's not that complicated. Like, think about what is being a sushi chef. Like, you're freaking just cutting fish and you're putting rice and vinegar, put it together.
Yeah.
Very simple. But they're every day, years, decades.
Yeah.
They know every little nuance of it.
That's it, right? So like you as a chef, like you understand this. I'm excited for you because you worked so hard on subtle things. And now after tasting your food, which was amazing,
Yeah.
we know that like you've refined your technique. You're just refining your trading technique. Like what did you do year 1, year 2, year 3 as a chef? What were you cooking?
I worked at an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
The first few years cooking. I started cooking when I was 14, actually.
Nice.
Before that, I worked at a steakhouse when I was 14, an Italian restaurant like after high school, and just the only thing I ever did was cook.
What'd you learn? You're like making like chicken parm and basic stuff?
It wasn't, pasta. I made a lot of pasta.
You made a lot of pasta.
Yeah, I
just
loved
pasta
it.
and sauces.
Pasta
and you're
and
working
sauces.
at how al dente it is. You're like looking at the temperature and stuff.
Oh, no, like shaping the little different tortellini.
Oh, you're
Stuff
making
like
pasta from
that,
scratch.
Like all this stuff, yeah. You have to get.
So how long did it take you to like make the perfect tortellini? Like by year 3, you're like, I can do it with one hand.
Yeah. No, there was some ladies there that have been working there for years, so it was never even close. It'd been like 10 years in
They're the
pasta room.
masters.
Yeah. So just trying to make something that is passable took like a few months of trying.
So they were like looking at your tortellinis. They're like, nope,
Oh,
try
yeah.
again. Nope, try again. And you're just like, come on,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But now, after 20 years, you can do it pretty easily.
I stopped making pasta.
You graduated.
Yeah.
But if you could go back if you were forced to.
Yeah.
You just don't want it.
Now I want to go and eat somebody else.
Yeah.
This
Well,
whole
that's
time I
the
wanna eat
beauty.
their pasta.
That's the beauty of
I can
getting.
do other things.
That's the beauty of getting rich because then you can just eat what you earn. That's what we do. No, seriously, it's like what all the top traders like who came on like the latest Hungry Tourist trip, like Jack Kellogg making $500K last week, and he doesn't spend it. He's just like he's very humble and frugal and wants to do more. Lucas was also on the Hungry Tourist trip, and he's made 9 figures. And he's like, how old is Lucas? 22?
Mm-hmm.
That's wow.
And he started, Lucas started with like $2,000 or $2,500.
Wow.
And he was selling everything. He was like selling his like PlayStation and like just anything that he could
Trying to
get.
make it happen.
But he was also in the beginning losing like $500 or $1,000 with his $2,000 account. And then he would sell more. He would like sell, I think he got like a Christmas present, he said, and he like sold it.
Sold it right away and just keep it
And his
going.
parents, like, he didn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
But like, again,
Wow.
this is the same thing. Because you want a starting stake just so that you can practice. It's like having your own kitchen, right? Whatever it costs to get your own kitchen, because then you can practice every day. It's your space. If you don't have a kitchen, if you don't have ingredients, how are you going to practice? So your ingredients right now, I like this chef analogy. I've never done this before. I like this. Your ingredients right now are your trading account, your journal, and what you're learning.
You guys.
Well, we can give you the framework. So like a lot of this is counterintuitive. Like a lot of people wouldn't go through year 1, year 2 of nothingness or losses and then 80K back down to 0. Like that would be heartbreaking. But because he had the right mindset, and we have enough people in the challenge and like the community, so you can kind of see like, okay, this is okay. A lot of this is just perspective.
Yeah.
Like there's a path. Like we now have 30 millionaires. He actually probably had the worst path of like making nothing for like 3 years basically and still sticking with it. I wouldn't have done, like if I had made nothing, I got started in 98, 99, I got started during a bubble, I made like 100K first year, I was like, let's go.
This is my thing.
But if I didn't, I might have given up. Like I can imagine how many people give up before they find success just because they don't have the proper perspective.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about giving up in year 1, year 2, year 3?
I mean, it would be a thought, but then I would think like, there's just so much more here, and like, I mean, a lot of people would just throw in the towel after blowing up like their whole account.
Yeah.
Like that's all the money I had,
Yeah.
But
you never lost your entire account.
I would throw it out and just like strap my boots and say like, no, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna walk away. Like even when I was going through like all that like mental anxiety and depression, whatever, I was still waking up every day and like watching the market for like 2 hours in the pre-market, then it would open, then I would keep watching it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just wanted to like keep soaking everything. It's all I knew how to do.
But then it basically one trade where you rode it from 4 to 14 and you're like, if you get one good trade, all it takes sometimes is one good trade where you're like, this is the perfect trade. I just need to repeat this. It's going to happen again.
Yeah.
I made $100,000 plus in one day as a college freshman. I bought this stock on a Friday. Do you remember this? This story? ISCO. It was already 4 to 17 on the weekday. This was like 20 plus years ago. They had this technology back then, like cell phones were very fuzzy. Like if you ever had it, there was like fuzziness. They had a scientific technology that could get rid of the fuzziness. I'm like, oh, well, that's amazing. That's useful. The stock was going up every day because everyone had cell phones or were beginning to get cell phones, and this technology would be needed. On that Friday, after the stock had gone from 4 to 17 that week, which was a lot back then, they said, we're going to be on TV on Sunday. They're featuring our technology. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. I didn't know short selling. I didn't know about like scams or anything. This is like my second year in the market. And I had like 300,000 at the time. I put in basically like 200,000, 250,000 of my money into one play. Far too big of a position. Ignorance is bliss. But sure enough, the TV program was positive, saying this is going to revolutionize cell phones. The stock, I bought 10,000 shares. It was under 200,000 because 10,000 shares at 17. So like $170,000 of my 250,000. Still like 75% of my net worth, way too much. Bought the stock at 17. All I wanted was a gap up to like 20. But it kept gapping up. There's no pre-market trading back then. Gapped up all the way to 29. I'm trying to sell. I'm not getting executed. Finally, it takes like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I get executed in the 29s. Made 120K on a 170K investment. I was so freaked out. Took my whole dorm out to dinner. Fucking amazing. Next day, the stock goes to the 40s. So I didn't have to sell in the 20s. I was just so, that was my first big trade. And as I'm telling you this, I'm remembering this. One good trade.
And that's where like you see just how much potential there can be.
I only had 10,000 shares. I mean, that kind of a trade now during a bubble, I mean, I could take 100,000 shares and it would be the same thing. And I could have not just made 100,000 a day and make $1 million in a day. And then you start to realize the upside.
Yeah. That's why it's worth learning. Like if it takes a year or if it takes 5 years, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like 5 years from now, that'll be great.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mind.
We're all still young. You're still young.
Yeah, I don't mind to take the time to learn right.
But then this is the beautiful thing. Things can grow exponentially, right? So like the same process that you're trading with 5 shares, if you take 5,000 shares, right?
Yeah.
Like what's your biggest per share gain? Like, $5 a share, $10 a share?
Yesterday it was something like that, $5 or $10 a share. Wow.
Which one? Be specific.
I think it was around that. I don't know off the top of my head, honestly, what the game was.
You need a
because I was
journalist.
trading it like too much, and it was just moving a little too fast.
But you're in and out a lot, so you're not just taking one
That
trade.
one, I got in and out on the halt resumption, and then got out right as it went again, and
Yeah.
then I was like, shit, it's gonna happen again.
So you did it again.
And so I was like, this one just keeps like, kind of like dipping and halting up like in slow motion. Like I should just, it worked like two times in a row.
Yeah.
Third time didn't work.
Yeah. You push it until you can't.
So
right?
I'm not sure exactly like what the bills were and what I sold at, but it was like $5 or $10 a share at the end.
But that's fine. So $5 or $10 a share, that's a big room. That's a big margin of error. Like you gotta like get the specifics. This was 20 plus years ago. I remember like I was wrong at first when I was mentioning it or the dollar amounts, but then I remember 10,000 shares at 17.
Yeah.
And I sold it at 29. I can remember that. That's $12 a share. But let's say you made $5 a share. Let's just take worst case scenario. You had 5 shares, you said?
Yeah.
Right? Still making $5 a share, that's 25 bucks. But what if you had 5,000 shares and you made $5 a share? That's $25,000.
Yeah.
Very big difference. But you're learning with 5 shares, 10 shares, and then you're trying to repeat that. Volatility halts are especially tough too, because you can't get in or get out because the stock is halted.
Yeah.
Do you trade the volatility halts? I try to avoid them personally.
I really try to avoid them. If it's like a halt up into like major resistance, I may dabble in it, like watching the tape and like seeing, okay, this looks like it could be a top.
Yeah.
But
You're talking about in terms of shorting.
Yeah, but going long, I really just try to avoid them because like they scare me. Unless like I'm long from support and then it just starts grinding up, then starts halting, then I'm like, okay, let's go, let's ride it out.
So that's the thing, right? So like you have the volatility halts, but you're looking at past positioning of those key levels. So like if it starts halting up, the first one or the second one, what is social media saying? I'm sure all these Discord chat rooms are pumping it up like this is gonna be amazing, right?
Recently there's no history. They're like recent IPOs, so there's nothing to look at, which is good, is what makes it so that they can go so sky high. But
like Grinder, right?
Yeah.
But he's shorting and he's got a short off near 70.
Oh hell yeah!
You're still holding that one, right?
Yeah, I reshorted like a little bit towards the end of the day,
Okay.
just because I'm thinking it may get.
What did it
down.
close at? Like 35?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I mean, I'm just gonna reevaluate it.
Yeah.
One day.
But you're using the volatility and you're trying to take your piece of the move.
Mhm.
You're going long right now, he's going short. But it's whatever pattern. Maybe eventually you can go long and short. Do you ever go long and short the same stock? I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll occasionally flip. Like if I know that I'm getting bent and I'm like twisted short selling it, I'll say, okay, if
There's
I'm
other
bent and I'm
short
getting
sellers,
mad,
yeah.
I know there's a lot more people that are going to be more mad because I'm pretty quick to flip. So it usually means I'm like one of the first shorts to flip. So I'll just like take some long and then it may work out. But there have been times where I thought I was right and then I should just keep shorting it. But
Yeah.
you know, it goes
It's
both
tough.
ways.
For me,
Yeah.
like if I'm going long, I have this whole plan in my head. I'm like, okay, here's why it's going to keep going. Here's the breakout. Even if it fails, I can't be like, well, now I have to bet against it because I was wrong.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm just wrong and it's not going to keep breaking out, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to crash. It's not always like a perfect double-edged sword.
Mhm.
Sometimes like, you know, if I think it's going up, if it has the right catalyst, like especially if I'm buying a stock with a catalyst, not just like random spikers, but if it's like a company has like good earnings, or they have like a new billionaire investor, or like they have news coming up the next day, even if I sell too quickly or maybe I overestimate, I still am not going to flip to short because I'm still worried about why did I buy in the first place. Like there's a reason why. So the best traders can go back and forth. If you have a stock that goes straight up and you take your profit and you're like, no, Grinder is up too much, and then you short it the way down. Like Grinder, you can make money on both ways.
Yeah.
Friday. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
It's been a while since we've had those like very volatile price swings.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see because like a lot of stuff it's been going up and then would hold a tight range. So you would have the upside, but then you wouldn't have the short side for quite a while.
Yeah. But you try both, right? Like
Yeah.
you're learning, seeing, and then also shorting, like you have to find shares to short. A lot of these stocks that go up the most, everyone wants to short them, but you need like specialized brokers.
Okay.
So, you know, I used to have Thinkorswim that used to be good for shorting, not anymore. I have Trade Zero now for shorting. You have what, Cobra?
Mhm.
Like, there's all these different brokers that have shares to short specifically for like hard to borrows.
Okay.
But that's like a whole nother thing. If I were just starting right now, I wouldn't even do that because a lot of the best short even the best short sellers are like losing big because some of them are just going insane.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
HKD went from 13 to 2,500. And
Yeah.
how many days was that?
Like
What was
7 trading sessions?
13 to 80 in like 5 days. Then there was a breakout at 80. And then 80 to 2,500 in like 3 days.
And it just kept grinding. And it was so
That's
illiquid
wild.
too, which was like wild.
I mean, I know some of the best short sellers I know. People have made 6, 7, 8 figures and they're losing 5, 6, 7 figures on this.
Mhm.
And you know, there's been other runners like that too. So shorting is very dangerous. You can lose more than you put in, right? Like going long, okay, you buy the stock at 40. Worst case, you lose $40 a share. But if you short a stock at 40 and it goes to 200, you're down $160 a share, 4 times what you put in.
Yeah.
So if you have a $4,000 loss and you only have $1,000 in your account, you still owe your broker. They don't just be like, oh, sorry, you only have 1,000. They refer you to a credit agency, right? Like you owe that money.
Yeah.
What if a stock, you're shorting it at 40 and it goes to 600? It could do that. Now you're down, 500 plus per share. Let's say you even have like, not necessarily 1,000 shares, but even 100 shares. It's painful.
Yeah.
$50,000 plus in losses. So you want to avoid that. Small wins, small losses. It doesn't matter what you do in the beginning. You're just learning the process. You want to be prepared with experience, with know-how, and expertise when you take size by year 3, year 4, year 5.
Yeah.
You choose. We see how hot the market is. We see how much time you can actually put in. A lot of people want to put in time, but then life gets in the way. You know that happens. You got to be realistic about it, right? Like you're hungry right now, but if you make nothing for 6 months, are you still going to be like hungry? You're going to be like, let me just focus on restaurants.
No, for sure. I'm pretty stubborn.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Stubbornness is good.
Yeah.
He's stubborn. I'm stubborn.
But just you get an idea in your head,
Yeah. And then you have
And like
to see
seeing
it
your
through.
guys' success is like, okay, no, I can do this, I can get this down, and then there's someone to learn from.
So when you see other people's success, this is the beauty of the challenge, right? Like even when he was losing, he was seeing other challenge students really rise up.
Yeah.
Like, we had Roland, we had Mark Crook, we had Grutani, and we have like Jack Kellogg, Mari, Matt Monaco, Kyle. So many people where even if you're not personally doing well, you see how they're doing and you're like, And if you'll meet all the challenge students. We're all gonna eat your food. Trust me, I have the whole vision. Like, challenge students are gonna eat now. But like once you meet them, you'll see like they're average people. None of us are like math geniuses or that. Like, oh, we know so much. We just find what patterns work best for us, and we're stubborn. And you stick with it, right?
Seems like people are pretty disciplined.
No, it all comes down to the discipline.
Yeah.
All does, yes.
You can't be a gambler. Gamblers go broke. They might have more fun, like, hey, I made 100 grand today. You know, crypto people made so much money in 2020, 21, but they didn't take profits. I was telling you about the guy who started with 300,000, went to 20 million back down, or 100,000 to 20 million. Do you know this story? 100,000 to 20 plus million, didn't sell, down to 300,000. Still up overall.
Still up overall.
But
you can't be stubborn.
Yeah.
You just gotta lock in profits because it's a process, right? But then again, during the bubble, like, you know, crypto people are watching this and they're like, no, not so, because during the bubble, if you just hold and you're undisciplined, you know, I can never go from like 100,000 to 20 million on any one trade, because if I put in 100,000, I'm gonna take profits at 150,000.
Yeah.
So there is an argument to like hodl when the bubble is there, when the mania is there. It's just not happening right now.
Yeah. No, I saw you did a trade on, what is it, QRTB, something like that?
Yeah, that was one of these weird ones.
That you traded, and you got like 10 cents out of it.
Yeah.
In like
100%.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Boom.
That one didn't work perfectly, but because I bought, so QRTB, I don't know if you saw that one, spiking. I bought just about 500 shares, small position. But I bought the 500 shares at 10.20. At 10.18, there was a 9,000 share buyer, and QRTB is not the most liquid. Yeah. So if I was wrong, I'm protected. I would have a 2 cent a share loss. Yeah. So I'm buying right near the bid. I'm not, it was like 10.20 by 10.50. It was like a little spread, 30 cents a share, but I'm buying right near support. So there's really no risk, because like, even if that someone was selling into the 9,000 shares, it would get chipped away, and I only have 500 shares I could sell. Yeah. What happened was, even though I didn't get the big breakout to the 11s or 12s that I wanted, that 9,000 share seller moved from 10.18 to 10.60. That one little thing, and you know, smart traders don't move their limit order up 40 cents a share. I don't know if the guy was an idiot. I don't know if it was a broker covering.
Is that what you're on?
Yeah, because you have level 2. It was just one guy. And he moved from 10.18 to 10.60.
And you just rode along with him.
That was it. Because he was the biggest buyer and he wasn't getting chipped away. At 10.60, he started getting chipped away. And so at 10.60, when I see him getting chipped away, I'm like, I'm losing my support, right? Like if you're riding into battle and you have like the badass, like, you know, I don't know, protector. Like I'm thinking if this is like a battle, right? And you have like security forces behind you. And you got like one big guy on your left, one big guy on the right. And you're like, all right, let's go into battle. But then you lose the guy on the right, and the guy on the left is like fading, and I'm like, retreat, right? So like you got to know if you have a support system or not. And QRTB, part of the reason why I did that trade is because it was, normally I don't trade illiquid stocks like that, but I could literally see my support guy right next to me. I wish I could DM him and be like, yo, you got me. It was a terrible buy at 10.60. The stock finished in the 9s. Okay. So he was not smart to buy or buy to cover there. But that was that play. So sometimes you can look at level 2, and that's why I like taking one trade.
Not like a chart pattern, not like a level on the chart.
Well, QRTB also spiked up quite a bit. Like it moved in the past 3 days. There was like a $3 a share move in an hour and a $4 a share. So it has spiked big in the past. So I'm not just buying a random stock just because one guy is. I was hoping that it could do another $3 or $4 a share spike. It didn't. It did like $1.50. But I got out for small profits, and there was so little risk because I had a small position size and I had a big bidder right next to me. My finger's on the trigger whenever I'm in this trade. Like if it started getting chipped away, I would get out. And even if he did get taken out at 10.18, there were buyers at like 10 and 9.95. So worst case scenario, on my 500 shares, I'm going to lose $100. I ended up making like 300 or 400, right? Like that's all you need to do. Or no, like 200, 250. But like when you have more upside than downside, if you can take a trade where there's, let's say you can make $1,000 if you're right, or lose $100 if you're wrong, 10-to-1 risk reward. Little trades like that. Nice. I wouldn't necessarily take a bigger trade, a bigger position on that. I wouldn't take 5,000 shares, because now if I lose my support guy, I have 9,000 shares. Now I'm the big guy, and then I'm trying to push, I'm trying to sell. Yeah. So you also have to think like, what is your position size relative to the total volume? You don't really want to be more than 1 or 2% of the total volume.
Okay.
You know, I know some people where they're like, oh, I believe in this stock, but they're 50% of the volume. I'm like if you're wrong, you're going to lose big. But taking small positions, even on an illiquid stock like QRTEB, I can get out very easily. But you got to think about that. So as you're scaling up, like I said, I tell them before, it's like, you know, what's that movie, Maverick, right? Top Gun, where like your enemy is like moving and you're moving and you got to try to get in line with them. There's 2 moving targets, right?
Yeah.
And then you can like try to like nail it, but what if he moves last second? What if you move last second?
Yeah, it takes time to learn
And then what if you run out of fuel? What if you have the perfect shot, but then you get a fuel warning, and then like you have to like go back to base?
that. Yeah.
That happens, right? What if you see the perfect trade, but you're out of day trades? If you're under the pattern day trader rule,
Yeah.
that happens. You got to save some extra trades. Are you under the pattern day trader rule? The PDT rule? No, it's good.
No.
That's 3 day trades per 5 rolling day periods, so you
Yeah.
can't overtrade.
Yeah.
So some people are under this rule. They see a perfect trade, but they don't have any day trades left, and they're like, no,
Yeah.
right? Did that happen to you in the beginning?
Oh, all the time.
Right?
I do not deal well with the PDT rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so hard because like it was always like extra anxiety I had because I'm like, man, if this trade doesn't work out, I just lost 33% of my potential trades.
Yeah.
Like, it would just bum me out.
For me, it's not about the money. It's just like I want to be able to trade so I can learn.
Yeah.
100%.
Right now, you know, I don't want to have limits, so it's kind of more like an investment and learning.
Mhm.
If it goes down, it goes
But
down.
you need ammo, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
if this is battle and you're in war and you have the perfect shot and then you're out of ammo. Do you remember Independence Day when they're about to shoot down the big alien ship and they're out of missiles?
Yeah.
And the president's like, "Isn't anybody have any missiles left?" And then the drunken guy, Dennis Quaid, comes in. He's like, "Right here, Mr. President."
Okay, I haven't seen that movie enough times.
Photographic memory. And then he saves it. And he's like, "Tell my kids I love them." And then he takes down the alien ship. There's one guy. You got to get going. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna check about the ride to the airport.
Because the ferry's at 11, right?
Yeah, there's one at 11 and one at 11:20.
Oh, is there an 11:20?
cool.
Oh, good.
That's perfect time.
Sunday. Maybe there's one at 11:20.
We're going to take the 11.
I can swim.
Study hard, stay true. One last tip for everybody. Now that you're beginning, we're going to look back at this.
Eat well.
Hey! Check out Chef Blaine. I'll link his profile underneath.
Oh, nice. See you guys soon.
Money. Yo, we are so well fed right now.
Yeah.
Now your brain is well fed. And now your brains are well fed.